we learned that the 8 1,000-pound bombs from our aircraft fell in intervals through the center of the complex, completely destroying the factory. The bombs from the other aircraft of the squadron fell on the periphery of the target area. Needless to say, I was pleased and relieved, since the attitude of the crew toward the bombardier was largely determined by his performance. In late July, we learned that our squadron was moving to Okinawa, and that most personnel and supplies, with the exception of the squadron aircraft, would be transported by LSTs. At this time, I was notified by the squadron commander that I was needed as a spare bombardier, and that I would travel to the new base with our squadron's aircraft. I don't know why I was selected, because there were several new crews that joined the squadron when we did. In retrospect, however, I believe that my successful performance on the first bombing mission was a determining factor. Our new base was Aishima, a small island of approximately 8 square miles immediately northwest of Okinawa. The island had 2 airstrips, one for medium bombers and one for fighter planes. U.S. infantry and Marines had taken Okinawa and had incurred more losses of personnel than in all of the previous fighting in the Pacific. We found a pyramidal monument on the island that was inscribed, "On this day, on April 18, 1945, the 77th Infantry Division lost a buddy, Ernie Pyle." Ernie Pyle was a beloved war correspondent who was highly respected by American soldiers. His grave was among those of the other American heroes in the island cemetery. After the war, his grave was moved at his family's request to the American Military Cemetery in Hawaii. My crew, as well as the other squadron personnel who came by LST, encountered a typhoon during the trip. The LST had a flat bottom and was designed to approach close to shore, and almost everyone aboard suffered from severe seasickness caused by the violent movements of the ship in a storm that raged for almost 5 days. I had had a history of motion sickness all my life. In fact, those of you who remember Detroit and the streetcars, as soon as I'd get on that Claremont streetcar, I'd throw up when I was a kid. I considered myself very fortunate to have escaped this ordeal. By the time I was reunited with my crew, I had flown 2 missions with other crews. One of the targets was Curry Harbor. In both cases, I performed my job well. At this stage in the war, we saw no Japanese fighter planes. However, anti-aircraft fire over the target was plentiful. And a major concern of crew members was that the bombardier would fail to release the bombs on the first run. If that happened, the pilot would be required to make another pass over the target, increasing the vulnerability of the aircraft to more accurate anti-aircraft shelling. On August 6, 1945, the Enola Gay dropped the first atom bomb over Hiroshima. About this major event, we had absolutely no awareness or information. However, I do recall that a notice on the squadron bulletin board advised all personnel that in the event that the primary target was socked in by weather conditions, we were to avoid bombing certain target areas, and Nagasaki was one of the half-dozen targets listed. On August 7th, my crew flew their first mission from Okinawa. The target was Tsuiki on the island of Kyushu, a distance of about 500 miles from Aishima.